that's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dreams that you dare to, oh, why can't oh, someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like a lemon drops, high above the chimney top, that's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. The dreams that you dare to, why, oh, why can't trouble melts like a lemon drops, high above the chimney top, that's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. The dreams that you dare to, why, oh, why can't
Robert Fulgham wrote a book several years ago entitled Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. I want to share with you a small part. Most of what I really need to know about how to live and what to do and how to be I learned in kindergarten. These are the things I learned. Share everything, play fair, don't hit people, put things back where you found them, clean up your own mess, don't take things that aren't yours, say you're sorry when you hurt somebody, wash your hands before you eat, warm cookies and cold milk are good for you, live a balanced life, learn some and think some and draw some and paint and sing and dance and play and work every day, take a nap every afternoon, and when you go out into the world, hold hands and stick together. We're here today to hold hands and stick together. We're here today to seek comfort and strength. We're here today to celebrate the life of David Wayne Smith. In a moment, we're going to hear from his favorite niece, Alison, also his only niece, but favorite sounded better to me. And after Alison speaks, if you would like to share a few words, you're more than welcome to do that. If you do that, it would be best if you came up here for the videographer so friends will be able to see that at another time. So if you'd like to share something after Alison, feel free to do that. Also, I'd encourage you to whisper a prayer while Alison stands here to pay tribute to her Uncle David. Before we go further, let us pray. Lord, thank you for this day, and here we are, and we have the gift of life, and we are thankful for that. Forgive us for taking one moment for granted. Forgive us for taking one friend for granted, one family member for granted. I pray that you'd give Alison strength as she comes and stands before us to talk about her Uncle David, and we thank you for the gift of family. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Hello. I'm a little bit nervous. I've never spoken at an event like this before. Every time I've spoken in the past has been at work, teaching, and I can teach all day long. I can teach processes and new ways of doing work, and I don't really speak about things from the heart in public, so forgive me while I stumble through this. Y'all knew David, whether it was from work or because you had a good friendship or because he was your favorite uncle. He was just a very kind and loving person that I think we could all agree we were probably better for having known, and that I truly wish he had been able to realize his most recent dreams, that he would get to live at the lake near friends and family. But the universe had a different plan. And while it's deeply painful for us, for me, for my husband, I just have to trust that that's the way it was supposed to be. He thought highly of all his friends, and I know that it seemed no matter what room he walked into, he made everyone feel like they had the right to be there as well. He was always very welcoming and kind. Never saw him angry, never saw him get cross with people. He was just a level-headed, calm, thoughtful person. I don't know how I'm related to him because I'm none of these things. But what we did have in common is an incredibly inappropriate sense of humor. He was always the person at an event maybe like this, where he and I would be standing in a corner making some kind of rude comment about something. For example, what is wrong with the chick speaking right now? Does she have some kind of illness? But I could go on for a long time. I'm not going to. I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that his older sister, my mother's not able to be here today, which is why we are videotaping. She'll be thrilled to have anyone speak. She just wanted to let everyone know that despite his bratty behavior, he was an excellent brother. I told her I would share with you, he stabbed her in the leg with a pencil when he was 6, and she has not forgiven him yet. And you may notice I've brought his cats here with him today. They're here to be with him in spirit. So you can give them a little pat as you go by if you'd like. Dr. Amy is here, who delivered those kittens while I got married. Thank you all, truly, for being here today. He was a very important part of me and my husband's life, and we will miss him terribly, but I'm so glad to see you all here today to remember him. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to share? Now's your opportunity.
My name is Marion Rivers, and I work with David at the Federal Reserve for probably over, well, I guess with David about 25, and then we were friends after we both retired. I'm old. I'm probably the oldest examiner that's still here from the Fed. David was a star in our department. He had impeccable academic credentials, Duke and Wake Forest, and he came to work for us, and he had a desire to get into the trust area, the fiduciary area. And he quickly became, in 3 or 4 years, our specialist in the trust. And we had the institution was the second largest trust department in the Southeast. And within 4 or 5 years, Dave was put in charge of that trust department. It was SunTrust Bank, now Truist. And he was also sought after in the Federal Reserve Board in Washington, and he taught. He was asked to come up there and teach schools. And on one occasion, many years ago, I got a phone call, and they said, we have a problem with the trust department in Montana, or North Dakota, I'm not sure which northwestern state it was. And they said, we need David to come up and help us figure out the problems in this trust department. So David got a free trip to Montana, and he spent a couple of weeks up there trying to straighten out and teaching the examiners of that particular reserve bank some of the things that needed to be done. And then he changed positions, and he started working for me directly, and he became in charge of our administrative unit over our banks. And we divided banks into large banks and small banks, and I had all the small banks. And at the time, we had about 118 banks and 550 holding companies. And he had to organize all that and monitor all the reports that came in and so forth. And then he was finally rewarded for his success and was promoted to an assistant vice president. And he had numerous positions in that role in applications, trust, and then finally in the consumer affairs area. And he was a sought-after teacher in the Board of Governors in Washington. He would go up there for weeks on end and teach examiners from all over the United States, not only from the Federal Reserve, but the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and the Office of Comptroller of Currency. He just had that kind of knowledge. So when he retired, there was a huge vacuum at the Reserve Bank for what he had done over the years. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about his professional career. It was stellar. Thank you for your time.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Amy Howard, David's friend, and he was my best friend. We just moved about a month ago. All of our clothes are in boxes, and we came from Florida, 10 hours to get here, and so that's why I'm dressed this way partially, but also because I hate wearing shoes. But David has been my best friend for 36 years at least. But I wanted to tell you a little about moving to the South, because when I first got hired at the Atlanta Fed, I came from Iowa, working for the Chicago Fed out of Iowa. But I came to work for David and Marion and Ron, who never ages whatsoever. This is really, really spooky. Kind of the same for Marion, but especially for Ron, which kind of I find fascinating. But I learned a lot about the South, moving here, and years and years of eating lunch with David and him coming to our house and helping to raise our kids. My husband, John, we've been together for 45 years. I've known Dave for like 36 years. He's a member of our family. And like I said, he helped raise our kids. So I wanted to tell you a little about one. Our youngest son, John, moved here. He was 5, and he started kindergarten in Georgia. And David came out to the house, and David would give John all kinds of, and our other kids too, our other daughter, but, pointers on things. But I'm looking out the window, and the boys are outside playing, and we fly airplanes. We do stuff like that. But John Jr. has this giant styrofoam plane. It's about 4 foot. It's huge. They each have one. So I'm like, they're going to have a gliding competition, who can fly the longest. And I'm looking out there, and I go out, and they start throwing them towards each other. They're crashing into each other. And I'm like, John, what are you doing? And he started calling him Uncle David. Uncle David, it's a new game. It's called Mid-Air Collision. Like, really? And David just thinks it's the funniest thing ever to tell this boy stuff. And he always gave John lots of advice. John came to work with us when he was about 5 or 6, and we'd give him Post-it notes, and he'd do asset progress reports, try to balance them. And he kind of decided that he didn't want to necessarily be an examiner because he thought it was kind of boring and all they do is wear suits, and he wanted to be outside. He became an aerospace engineer and a pilot. He puts up satellites now. But it's kind of funny the things that they do. And David helped him with reports in school. And when he was at Georgia Tech, he'd come over and he'd have lunch with them and all sorts of things. John has great memories. I have 5 brothers, but that was his closest uncle. And he became one of my brothers. And all the things in life that you go through with people. But the other side of David. Okay, so we're having lunch, and he's telling me about, he's like sitting outside at his new house. This is, where he currently is. And there was a cat that came up, and he always told me he's a dog person. That's fine. He liked our cats. But he would talk to these cats and stuff, and pretty soon he talked about putting in a doggy door on his garage door so they could come in and eat, have somewhere safe. And I'm like, that's kind of permanent, right? I was in my 20s at that time and just in my 30s, and I'm like, I was kind of surprised that he would consider doing that. But he did. And then he really fell in love with this little Maine Coon that he named Buddy. There was another one there for a while too, but Buddy, and he adored Buddy. And she would sit with him, and she's very beautiful, very, very gorgeous cat. And he's talking to me at lunch the next day, and he says, I'm worried there's something wrong with Buddy. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, like last night, she's like yowling, kind of howling. She's rolling on the floor. She gets up in the window. She's looking outside and all this stuff. And I'm like, we got to have a talk. David, she's looking for she kind of wants a boyfriend, David. No, she wouldn't do that. I did see a boy cat, I think, in the yard that came up the driveway the other night. So I finally convinced him she needs to go into the vet. You can get shots. It's real easy. Get her spayed. Everything will be fine. She'll be back to nice, calm Buddy again. So he calls me afterwards. He's taking her in. He's going to do that. And he said, well, I can't quite do the shots yet. I said, okay. He said, well, because the vet has said that it's not good for developing fetuses, developing kittens to have shots. So apparently she was pregnant, and he was not going to, other places would, take care of it. No, these are Buddy's babies. So that's fine, and it's getting near Alison's wedding, like a month later or whatever, and it's real close to her time, I feel like, and I'm like, I'm just worried about this. I live 50 miles west of Atlanta and would come in every day to work. So I'm like, let me come get Buddy and we'll take her home. Everything will be fine, nothing will happen then. Well, we did. We brought her home. And the day of the wedding, she starts delivering babies, which is fine. The first one came, Gracie, gorgeous. And I have pictures, by the way, of these beautiful kittens. And the next one took a real long time to come. And I'm like, I need to take these to the vet. Maybe she needs a C-section. Anything happens to her, he will never talk to me again. I am sure of this. She ranks much higher than me. Finally, he's on the phone with me, and Gracie, the tricolored one, shows up. And he goes, oh, that's Roadblock. So that's what he nicknamed her, was Roadblock, which I thought was pretty funny at the time, as I see my life passing through me as I'm putting her in a box to take her to the vet. And then Lucy shows up, number 3. But a couple days later, he comes home from the wedding, and I'm bringing him in. And he picks up each one. He pats Buddy first, and he picks up each baby kitten, newborns. And anyone seeing newborn kittens, they don't have any hair on their feet. But these are darling kittens anyhow, and each one he talked to Buddy, and he said, oh, this one is the most beautiful one. Look at this one's colors, just like he was, talking to another person that he loves. And his father lived with him. And it became the best thing because he would come home from work and his dad decided that was his job, was to, kind of babysit. And he'd say, David, you wouldn't believe what they did today. And I got to thinking about it, now it's kind of cool because since he didn't necessarily have human children, his father got to see him as a dad. And he'd say, no, get off the curtains, or no, you're not supposed to be up that high, or, all the things in life that go on. And he was such a tremendous dad, but he was kind, and he was kind to so many people. And he was kind to me, and he helped get me through college, and, examiner commissioning, and just to have a great life, and always encouraging. And always calling, sing on your birthday, always just being David, and with his jokes and with his Star Trek stuff, and, just the kind of person you want to be, and his integrity. And he never went to the dark side. And he made me be the kind of person that I wanted to be, and to teach my kids to be like that, and with my husband. And, that's the kind of life you want to have, somebody that makes you better. So, anyhow. Good job, David.
Anyone else? You're more than welcome.
Just yesterday morning, they let me know you were gone. Suzanne, the plans they made put an end to you. I walked out this morning and I wrote down this song. I just can't remember who to send it to. I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend. But I always thought that I'd see you again. Won't you look down upon me, Jesus? You gotta help me make a stand. Just got to see me through another day. My body's aching and my time is at hand. I won't make it any other way. Whoa, I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. Seen lonely times when I could not find a friend. But I always thought that I'd see you again. Been walking my mind to an easy time, my back turned towards the sun. Lord knows when the cold wind blows, it'll turn your head around. Well, there's hours of time on the telephone line to talk about things to come. Sweet dreams and flying machines in pieces on the ground. Whoa, I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen sunny days that I thought would never end. I've seen lonely times when I could not find a friend. But I always thought that I'd see you, baby, one more time again now. Thought I'd see you one more time again. just a few things coming my way this time around now. Thought I'd see you, thought I'd see you far away now.
David came into this world on the 12th day of August, 1951. I often like to put a life into historical perspective. In 1951, Harry S. Truman occupied the White House. Almost 3 million American soldiers were in Korea. I Love Lucy hit the airwaves in 1951. Tupperware parties were first held. Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays were both in their rookie years. Super glue, liquid paper, and the videotape recorder were all invented in 1951. Also born the same year as David, Kirstie Alley, Dale Earnhardt, Dan Fogelberg, Mark Harmon, Kurt Russell, Nick Saban, and Robin Williams. I did not know David. I thank Alison for her help in describing her uncle to me. She painted a beautiful picture, as you have today. On your way in, I asked as many as I could catch for one-word descriptions of David, and I told Alison I had some words, and Chris said he had lots of words too, and the good words, I promise. And these are the words that were given to me, and it was funny, Alison, when I asked the friends, I said, I didn't know David, but I want a one-word description, fill in the blank, David was. And before you ever gave me a word, everyone smiled. Everyone smiled. David just was that kind of a person. Here are your words. David was fun, kind, approachable, nice, the sweetest person, a Trekkie, super nice, funny, loyal, creative, easy to be around, friendly, brilliant, a delight, laid back, a great neighbor. He had a great love of animals. He was intelligent, smart, clever. He had a wicked sense of humor, a dry wit. He was a good neighbor. He was a good friend. In talking with Alison, one of the things that I learned about David is that David was a giver. He was known for being a giving person. I'm going to quote from the obituary. Upon retirement, David enjoyed giving back to his community by working with the local food pantry. That's a nice thing to do. And then it said, after the passing of his mother, he stepped up to help as caregiver for his beloved father until Elmer's passing, so he gave there. And then another part of the obit, David loved animals, a true inherited trait from his mother, who was known in her neighborhood to be the place to be for scraps and unconditional love. David cared for strays, big and small, and had great joy in being able to provide a safe stop and a meal for kiddies passing through. That's a good way to be known as a giver. Scripture teaches that God loves a cheerful giver. In Matthew 25, Jesus praises givers on Judgment Day. In verse 31, it begins, when the Son of Man comes in his glory and the angels with him, he sits on his glorious throne, and all the nations will be gathered in his presence. And he'll separate the people as a shepherd separates sheep and goats. He'll place the sheep at the right hand, the goats on the left. And the king will say to those at the right, come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you gave me shelter. I was naked, you gave me clothing. I was sick, you cared for me. I was in prison, and you visited. The righteous will reply, Lord, when did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you drink, or a stranger and show you hospitality, or naked and give you clothing? When did we ever see you sick or in prison and visit you? The king will say, I tell you the truth, when you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you are doing it to me. In a world filled with takers, it's nice today to honor a giver. Alison went on to tell me that David was a good friend to many. He treated everyone with kindness, didn't matter who you were, and he made you feel special. The golden rule is found in Matthew chapter 7. Jesus said, in everything, do to others as you would have them do to you, for this is the law and the prophets. And it seems to me that he lived the golden rule in a wonderful way. Online, I found these tributes about David. One said, David made the world a better place. Another said, David's laugh was contagious in addition to his upbeat outlook on life. David indeed made this world a better place. The question now comes, so what do we do now? when we go back to the Carolinas, and when we go back home to Florida, wherever we might be from? Well, number one, you'll cherish your memories. David left so many good memories. You'll cherish them from the rest of your days. Philippians 4:8 says, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there's any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things and you will. My oldest brother, Charlie, died 12 years ago, even younger than David. I want to share with you something I shared with my family. It's about a man who was a boat owner. His boat, expensive investment, was moored on the Miami River. Hurricane was on the way, and he'd never experienced a hurricane before, and he wanted to protect his investment. So he bought all the rope he could buy, and he lashed his boat to all of the trees on the shore. And hours and hours and hours of knot tying, just a spider web of a mess. But he thought, that'll fix it. It's secure now. He was done standing back admiring his work when an old sailor walked up and began to shake his head negatively. The man said, what's wrong? And the sailor said, son, those trees are going to get eaten by the hurricane. Your only hope is to anchor deep. That's good advice for sailing. That's good advice for life. Our only hope is to anchor deep because the winds do come and the storms do blow. What else can we do? I'd encourage you to resolve to make the most of your time. David did so much in his 74 years. Funerals make me conscious of the time I have left. How much that is, I don't know, but the older I get, the more precious it seems to become. If you ever wonder, about his time, David's life touched 8 different decades, 2 separate centuries, 2 distinct millennia. He went from party lines. You remember party lines? David went from party lines to having a phone in his pocket. He went from vinyl records to online music, from Kodak slides to YouTube videos, from radio to black and white TV to, we were something when we got color TV back in the day, to streaming 4K video. When he started fooling with computers, it's likely that there were punch cards and reels of tape, and some of you are agreeing, you remember those days. And the computers took up lots of real estate in a huge building, and they required air conditioning. It was just a huge monstrosity. And now we have more computing power on our desk and maybe in our pockets than when David began in those days. He dodged polio and tuberculosis and meningitis and all those childhood things that they would get us for in school and line us up, and saw the advent of new things. The sleepy little town of Atlanta that he grew up in has grown exponentially since his childhood. He likely rode the Pink Pig downtown, and maybe went to Rich's for the lighting of the great tree, and the zoo to see Willie B, and maybe he even went to Mathis Dairy and milked Rosebud back in the day, like lots of the Atlanta kids did. David had an analog childhood and a digital adulthood. Time flies. It does. It seems like he maybe was at Duke the day before yesterday, and the last report I have, Duke was trailing Illinois by 1 point at halftime. Illinois is ranked number 11, so go Duke, we're saying today. But time does fly. If you ever wonder about the value of a year, ask a soldier deployed overseas. You wonder about the value of a month, ask the mother of a premature baby. You wonder about the value of a week, ask a kid on spring break, or a teacher who doesn't have to put up with those kids while they are on spring break. I live with a teacher. You wonder about the value of a day, think about how much better a 3-day weekend is than a 2. You wonder about the value of an hour, ask an ambulance driver stuck on 285. You wonder about the value of a minute, ask a quarterback in a 2-minute drill. There might be one doing that right now. You wonder about the value of a second, ask an Olympic athlete that either won a medal or missed qualifying by a fraction of one. Our time's a wonderful gift, and we should not take it for granted. Pray for this family, not just today, but in the days ahead as the new normal is here. Very often after funerals, also, I will call my remaining siblings, my 2 brothers and my sister, to tell them I love them, because I don't want to take my time nor my family for granted. And when you go out into the world, hold hands and stick together. Years ago, when I lived in Indiana, I was at an Apple computer store in Indianapolis looking at something, I don't recall what, when everybody in the store began to applaud. So naturally, I began to applaud too. I didn't know why, but they were clapping, so I thought I would too. I looked at the back of the store, and there was a young man. He had his work shirt over his arm, and I guessed they were clapping for him, and I watched him walk through the store, and people applauded, and when he got out into the mall, they stopped and went about their business. I'm curious by nature and wondered what that was about, so I called my son Taylor, who at the time worked for Apple at Colorado Springs. I told him what I had seen. I said, any idea what that's about? He said, oh yeah. He said, at Apple, on your first day of work, they clap you in to welcome you. That's a nice thing for an employer to do, make you feel welcome. And on your last day of work, if you leave on good terms, they clap you out. Well, I was not there August the 12th, 1951, but I'm here today. And the last thing we're going to do together is clap him out. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you David Wayne Smith.
Summer has come and passed. The innocent can never last. Wake me up when September.
There is a reception at the conclusion of this song. You're all invited to stay. The family would love to have you.
Like my father's come to pass. 7 years has gone so fast. Wake me up when September ends. Here comes the rain again, falling from the stars, drenched in my pain again, becoming who we are. As my memory rests, but never forgets what I lost. Wake me up when September ends.
Amy Howard's husband. I'm John Howard. The one thing I remember is that we always call David every month for his birthday and sing him happy birthday. As a matter of fact, we sing him happy birthday just a few weeks before. And other than that, he was like an uncle to our son and just a very good guy. We'll miss him very much.
I am Scott Smith. I'm very glad that I was able to make it for David's memorial service. David and I worked for over 30 years together at the Federal Reserve, and for a period of time he actually was my boss. And one of the things I really liked about him as a boss is he stayed out of my way and let me do my work. David was a fun guy to be around, and we will all miss him greatly. Thank you.
My name is Neva Corbin, and I reported to David. He was my officer, but that didn't stop him from a wicked sense of humor when it came to other officers. There was an officer in our department who, shall we say, could be problematic in trying to deal with her. And one day I was walking past David's office, and I saw his secretary about to die laughing. And as I passed by, David had just come from that problematic office, and as I was passing by, he had his tie in his hand and was mimicking hanging himself because she was so difficult to deal with. And we all knew exactly what he was talking about. David was an officer, and David was a gentleman. An officer and a gentleman, you can't do better than that.